Sound of that tractor means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast powered by Hoopla Grading Company. My name is Brandon Lindsay, and I am your host. So we've truly been blessed here at Hoopla Grading and with this podcast. Over the last year, we've had what I would call some pretty high-profile guests on this podcast. And by that, I mean some very well-known people with vast networks, large social media followings, and some serious name recognition. People that have traveled all across the world giving motivational speeches, sharing the secrets that they've unlocked over the course of their career about how to achieve the American dream. We've had guests that have written books. We've had guests that have been featured in magazines and even recognized with the honor of very prestigious awards for their many achievements. And then we have today's guest, right? Today we're talking to someone that a lot of you may not know. You can look, but you're probably not going to find this guy on social media. As far as I know, he's not currently on the speaking circuit. He's not featured in the latest construction magazines, and he doesn't do podcasts until today. He doesn't have a bunch of awards on his wall, and he hasn't written a book yet. However, this man's accomplishments in both business and in life would rival those of any of our high-profile guests. Today, we're talking to my friend and teammate, Tim Davis. Tim is the VP of Construction at Hoopla Grading, and in my opinion, Tim represents every good thing that this industry is about and has to offer. In a world where everyone's trying to keep up with the latest fad, constantly focused on their own personal brands and slowly transforming into the image that society tells us we should be, Tim Davis has stayed true to who he is and to the man that he wants to become. He has been fascinated with dirt and heavy equipment since he was 6 years old, maybe earlier. Someone very close to him and who knows him very well says that he lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes dirt. Today on the Give Us the Dirt podcast, Tim Davis is going to make authenticity cool again. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you having me.
Well, we are honored. I'm excited about this. Matter of fact, Tim and I have worked together for 4 years over here at Hoopla Grading Company. And I feel like I'm about to learn who Tim is finally after 4 years today in the time that we've got him on the podcast. As a matter of fact, I told a lot of people I had you coming today, and they felt the same way. Like, even though they've worked with you for years and years, like man, find out who this guy is.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can pull it out of me. That's what my wife said. She didn't know if I talked enough to be on the podcast. So
we're gonna get it, man. We're gonna get it.
Goes.
We're gonna dig it out today. Well, you know how we get started. So you've heard these things. We always like to start by having you introduce yourself in a different way. So you've got 2 teenage daughters. How would your teenage daughters introduce you to some of their friends that may not know who you are? What would they say about Dad?
I don't know. That's a hard one. My oldest one has told me before that some of her teenage friends are really intimidated by me, and she tells them I'm just a big teddy bear. So that may be what she'd tell them.
Don't be intimidated by Dad. He's just a big teddy bear.
That's right.
Well, that might work with the boys though.
Yeah, I don't know about that now. If it's a boy, it's a different story. I may try to intimidate a little bit.
Now, would your wife, Molly, would she introduce you the same way? Big old teddy bear?
I don't know if she would or not. So I don't know how she'd introduce me. So
well, do you want to know?
Yeah.
Tim, usually I don't do this, but this was so cool that I'm going to read it exactly like it came in because we talked to Molly and said, hey, tell us how to do this thing. But this is what she says about you. She says the one thing that comes to mind over and over again with Tim is his dedication and hardworking mindset. When he puts his mind to something, he gives it his all, regardless if it's his work ethics or even when it comes to being present in his family life. As a married couple, we started out young. We've literally grown up together, so to speak. And as with most things, there are always growing pains along the way, but I've seen him advance and grow through the years in many different ways. I've seen him strive to learn from mistakes to become a better person, both personally and professionally. Though he wears a reserved demeanor, 2 things are certain. He shares an undeniable love for his family and his work.
Well, that's great. That means a lot to me. She's been there with me through it all and through thick and thin, and been there at times when she probably shouldn't have been. So that means a lot.
Well, I figured it would. That would mean a lot to anybody to hear that. And Tim, if if someone knew nothing else about you other than that, that would be enough.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for me. We're going to find out more. It's not enough for our listeners today because we want the dirt. So we're going to dig in a little bit. Tell us about you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I originally am from Union County. My dad, my mom, both are from there originally. So I've grown up and lived somewhere in Union County all my life.
So you truly are local.
I am.
You've been here all your life.
Yep.
Your folks are still Union County?
Yeah. Well, they actually live in Lancaster County. They South Carolina now. When I was about 17, 18 years old, we lived out near the Monroe Airport, and the airport actually bought all the property where my mom and dad, my grandpa lived, and they moved down to Lancaster County. So they still reside there where they moved to after they sold the property up by the Monroe Airport.
Okay. All right. Well, they're close.
They are, yeah.
And what about, we mentioned it a little bit in the intro. What about your family? Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so I got two daughters. One's 17, one's 10. Both of them are great girls. Couldn't ask for better kids. I enjoy spending time with them and, doing things with them, seeing them grow up. And, I just hope they'll look back on things that I tell them or try to teach them and, remember that when they grow up.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. And it sounds like you've been very present father, and you've been a very huge role model to them. I have no doubt they're gonna have fond memories of their childhood until they start bringing the boys around.
That's right.
Then it's gonna change. Then they might not be as happy anymore. So talk to us. I mentioned it earlier that the age of 6. What's the earliest that you can remember being fascinated with dirt and heavy equipment and moving dirt?
Really, probably 4 or 5 years old. I can remember. My dad had a small grading company, and he took me to work with him a lot of times from really probably the time I could walk. I can remember getting in the back of his truck and sitting there while they were out there working in the field and watching what they were doing, and I can remember that as young as probably 5 years old. So
I can't remember anything. The fact that you can have those vivid memories all the way that early. So I mean, this started at 5 years old.
Yes.
I got a funny story. When we were doing our recon work and trying to get something to talk to you about, there was a pretty cool story that emerged, and it was the story of you firing your friend at 6 years old from the sandbox.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. My mom reminds me of it pretty often. She still laughs about it to this day. That I had a rule in the sandbox. You didn't pick up any toy and carry it across the sandbox. You had to be on your knees pushing it and making the sound and everything. You couldn't just pick it up and carry it from one place to the other. So my friend he picked it up and carried it across the sandbox, and I guess I'd lost my patience with him, and so I decided to fire him. He got upset and went home, told his mom, and his mom called my mom and so on. But we ended up making up, and I probably learned a lot from that. I try to be a lot more patient with people now than I was then.
Tim, that is the best story I've heard in a long time. You fired your friend from the sandbox because he wasn't moving the equipment the way it was supposed to be moved. And then the moms had to get involved.
That's right. Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. So your first job, when was your first job?
I started really from the time I was about 8 or 9 years old. I went to work in the summers with my dad. I can remember being 8, 9 years old, and I would either drive a farm tractor pulling a sheepfoot roller, or I would run a bulldozer pushing scrapers.
At 8 and 9 years old?
I did, and that would never fly today. And it's it sounds crazy, but I don't think they ever put me in a position where it was something going on that I couldn't handle, or a challenging situation with the machine or anything. It was always in the wide open. But that would never go over this day and time. But But I learned a lot, got a lot of experience doing that, and I did that every summer, until I got out of school.
Tim, was that like your chores, or was that a job? Were you getting paid?
He did pay me a little bit. When I was younger, maybe it was more like I was getting an allowance and all. But as
Yeah.
I got a little older, he paid me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. 8, 9 years old. I mean, you've got kids that are older than that, and you were already on the payroll running heavy equipment at 8, 9 years old.
Right. And I can't imagine my kids doing that. But
Have you ever reminded them?
oh yeah, all the time.
I'm sure they love that.
Yeah,
Hey, at your age, I was already working and running a heavy equipment,
Yeah, I use that when they don't clean their room.
and they roll their eyes at you.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Well, so that was with your dad. He was kind of doing. He had a business. How long did you do that with him?
So I worked for him, like I said, every summer, and then after I got out of school, I worked for him for probably a year and a half or 2 years. And in the early 90s, his company he tried to grow the business some, and he got in some financial trouble, had some people there that were good folks, but he probably just didn't have a lot of accountability in place, to hold people accountable to get things done. And the business got in trouble, and I just never saw that side of it improving a whole lot. And I didn't know anything else really at the time, but I knew some things weren't right, and I also wanted to get out on my own and find my way, and learn how some other people did things. So I guess about a year and a half after I got out of high school, I was working on a project with Michael Smith with SM Smith. We had a mutual client, and we were working on the same job together. And I got to talking to him, and told him I was thinking about making a change and trying it with another company. And he had mentioned to me that McGee Brothers was going to start mass grading, and they had bought a couple of scrapers and the support equipment to go along with all that. And he told me that I should reach out to a guy named Monty Huntley with McGee Brothers. So I called Monty, and he told me that he wasn't ready to hire anybody right now, that it was going to be a month or two, but he took my number. And he called me back in a couple months and asked me, was I still interested? So I ended up meeting with him, and I took that opportunity. I worked there for a few months, and they promoted me to a foreman position. So I worked there for several years, and as a foreman, and just felt like again that I wanted to learn a little bit more and experience a little bit more, and also wanted to grow beyond a foreman. So I had an opportunity to go to work for a small contractor as a general superintendent. So I ended up taking that role at that point. But had a good stint at McGee Brothers. I learned a lot. That was a great company as well to work for. So I've been.
Who was the general superintendent job with?
It was for a small contractor called Norwood Grading.
Okay.
That I worked with for a little while, and I ended up after that I went to work for Paramount Grading. They were out of Atlanta and had a Charlotte office. So when I went to work there, I eventually moved into a general superintendent's role there, and as that progressed, there was actually a general manager here in Charlotte that ran that division that ended up leaving. And when he left, I got the opportunity to basically kind of run the division as like a hybrid between a general superintendent and a project manager. And Chip and John Pearson that owned Paramount, they would come up here weekly or bi-weekly, and one day a week we'd get in the truck and we'd hit all the jobs. And they really gave me an opportunity to understand more of the business side. I understood all the field and understood, the equipment and operating the equipment and, how to build a job and all that kind of stuff. But they really gave me an opportunity to understand more of the business side with the cost and things like that, and learning that side of it. And that's really, kind of what directed my path to become a project manager.
So there's a couple things there that I find really interesting. Now, I'm curious as to how's that conversation with Dad? Like, Dad, I need to go do something else. How did that go? Was that hard for you? And what was his reaction to that?
Well, it was a very hard conversation, and he didn't take it very well.
Really?
He didn't. So he and I get along really good now, but at the time it didn't go over well, and we didn't say a whole lot to each other for 3 or 4 weeks. But it was the right decision. Looking back on it, I know I did the right thing and made the right move.
Does he admit that now too?
I don't ever talk to him a whole lot about it, but I'd say that he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've done pretty well, so I'm sure he's proud of you. But I imagine that was a very difficult decision to make. But I think that's common in our industry, Tim, is that, people get into this business because they love it. It's part of who they are. They've been playing in the sandbox since they were 4 and 5 years old. They just love it. But then it quickly becomes the business part of it, right? And doing the part that you love and the thing that you're passionate about sometimes gets shadowed by the business part of it. And I think you saw that. I think you watched some of the things that your dad had gone through, and then you made steps to be able to learn that side of it too. So when did you join the Hoopla grading team? So
I joined Hoopla in 2013, February 2013. Between working at Paramount and coming to work for Hoopla, I also worked for Davis Grading out of Shelby. No relation, just same last name, but they were also a great group of people, and they hired me as an estimator and a project manager. So I got a lot of estimating experience through that role, and also, I'd already had a lot of project management experience with working for Paramount, but I gained a lot more skill and knowledge working with Davis Grading as well.
Tim, I love that theme in your timeline, which I didn't know all this. I had no idea that you had spent time with these companies, but I love that the thing that was driving you was a constant desire for continuous learning. Like you wanted more. You
Right.
wanted to understand more and more pieces of the business, and each step got you closer to where you were trying to go.
That's right. That's right.
That's pretty cool. So now you are vice president of construction here at Hoopla Grading. What does the typical day look like for you? Or is there such a thing?
It's really not. I mean, it can be a lot of different things. I mean, it can be, working through a problem we got on a job, reviewing a contract, working out a billing issue, trying to identify a subcontractor that can help us, perform work, or, working with our team to make sure we got a solid plan to build a job and reach our milestones. So it can be a lot of different things.
Yeah, and so for those of you, for those that are listening that don't have the joy of being able to work with Tim every day, I can tell you that this man is the hardest working guy at Hoopla Grading Company. Hardest working guy I've ever worked with. And I used to think, Tim, it's 4 years you and I have been doing this together. I used to think that you worked that hard because you had to. And just because we were so busy, and now granted, it's still busy, and I know there's a lot that gets done, but the more I get to know you, the more I realize you love this.
I do. I really enjoy it. I like to see the fruits of it. If we put together a good plan, and our team goes out there and executes, and we hit our milestones, and we have a happy client. That's really what drives me.
You still enjoy it?
I do.
As much as you did in the beginning?
I do. I mean, it can be stressful at times with so much going on, but but I really do like it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
You lead a fairly large team and a fairly significant piece of the pie here
Right.
at Hoopla Grading. Did you ever see yourself being that kind of leader and in that position where you're going to be leading men and women and that large of a group? Did you ever see that being something you would be doing or that you wanted to do?
No, I don't think I ever saw it being, as big as it is. And I never really had a plan or thought about becoming a project manager or an estimator or anything like that. All the steps I took kind of led me in that direction. But it's amazing the growth that we've had here and the success we've had with the company here. We got a lot of great teammates. I have, we have 2 senior project managers and 10 project managers that, handle each one of our projects. And so we got a great team. They're all great guys that all work really hard. I can't take credit for being the hardest working guy here, but I can't say enough about our entire team. I told somebody the other day that I've never worked at any company that had the culture that we have and that the team members respect one another and the way that we do at Hoopla Grading. I mean, it's amazing to me.
Tim, I could not agree with you more, and you are a bigger part of that culture than you realize, and I think it's got a lot to do with your leadership style. And I talked about all these guests that we've had on here. We've got all kind of leadership styles, but Tim, you have a leadership style that I think has lent itself very well to creating the culture here at Hoopla, and something I admire personally. You are the most calm, observant person that I've ever worked with before. You're steady. You tend to be a peacemaker. You're a great listener, and those are all qualities I admire because truthfully, they're qualities I don't have.
Well, and I try to be that way. I try to be calm and try to look at the good in any situation and figure out how we work through a problem if we have one. But it's took time for me. I wasn't always as patient as I am now, and I've made some mistakes in the past. Not being as patient with people as I should have been. So I've learned a lot, and just try to listen well and make the best decisions that I can.
You do a great job of that, and I would hate to see it. I can't imagine you ever being angry, but I would hate to see it.
Yeah.
Have you ever been angry, Tim?
I have.
Yeah.
It's came out once in a while, but
that quiet leadership, I think it's people look over that too often. We need more quiet leaders. I was looking before we came in here that people like names like Abraham Lincoln, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Tony Dungy. These are quiet leaders, people that don't come in and get people to follow them because they're boisterous and telling them, and they have this loud voice, and people follow those kinds of people because they have to, right? They're
right.
Positional leaders. You have people that follow you because of who you are and what you represent, and I think that generates that culture and respect that you were talking about earlier. People just respect you because they see you living it out. It's not you telling them what to do. They're watching you do it, and they want to do it too.
Right. Well, and I've always been willing to do anything. There's nothing that I wouldn't go out and ask somebody to do that I wouldn't do myself. Whether that's getting in the ditch and shoveling or, getting out on a machine or whatever. There's nothing that I wouldn't that I would ask my team to do that I wouldn't get out and do myself. So
well, and they know that, and that's why they would do anything in the world for you. Tim, this is the part where we ask you to give us the dirt a little bit. So the research department here at the Give Us the Dirt podcast we've excavated some old pictures of you, and
that's not good. That may be embarrassing.
I don't think there's anything embarrassing here, but there are some really good ones that I think will help us tell the story. How old were you in this picture here at the top left?
If I had to guess, I would say I'm 5 years old or so, 5 or 6 years old.
And is that's a scraper?
Yeah, and I actually still have that scraper. I wore that thing out in the sandbox when I was a kid, and probably 15, 20 years ago, me and a good friend of mine, I still had it, and it was in disrepair. It was probably missing wheels and scratched up and torn up, and me and a friend of mine basically restored it, and I have it in my house right now. I tried to get my wife to let me put it on the mantle, but she wouldn't go for that, so it's stuck back in our bedroom, but I still have that today.
That is cool. And that's the sandbox, or is it?
I don't know where the sand is there, and I didn't really have a sandbox. I had a sand pile, but my dad got me a whole truckload of sand, so I stayed busy doing that when I was a kid.
And I love these pictures. So there you are with your daughter on a scraper. How old is she there?
I'd say she's probably 8 or so in that picture, 7 or 8 years old.
And there you are working on one. That's one you're restoring, or
yeah,
recently restored?
That one in the bottom middle.
What is that?
So it's a Terrex Dozer. They were manufactured by General Motors back. They started in the mid 50s up through the mid 80s, and that's a mid 80s model there. Probably one of the last ones that was built. But
so that's at your house? You have
that's at my father's place. They've got some property down in Lancaster County, so it's down there on his property.
And Tim, this is what you do in your free time.
It gives me a clarity break, yeah. So I grew up on this stuff and seeing some of this stuff run, and I don't know why I always liked the old Terrex equipment that General Motors made. I'm a General Motors fan of all their vehicles, Chevrolet trucks and things like that. So I had the opportunity to get this machine, and it needed a lot of work done to it. So over the past 5 years or so, really, I've been working on that machine, and I'm getting really close to being done with it. So it'll be probably about as close to new as you'll find once I finish it up. But
that's incredible. That's incredible. And what a beautiful family there on the bottom left. There's the picture of your wife and 2 girls, and then this other picture on the bottom right, which I think is hilarious. So you guys, it looks like you're on vacation, possibly at the beach, where most people are looking at the beach and the waves and the sunrise and the birds. There you are on a bicycle looking at equipment.
Yeah, I am. My wife got on me about that, but we were riding a couple of streets over on our bikes, and I was looking over and I saw some equipment off in the distance, and I told her I was going to ride by and check it out and see what was going on. So she can't get me away from it even more.
Even on
vacation.
Even at the beach, Tim, yeah. We can't get you to. That's incredible. I love that. Well, they know you well. They know what makes you happy. Do you have any hobbies?
Not really. I mean, I shoot a little bit, shoot sport and clays some, and then I work on my equipment some and spend time with my family, and that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, let me ask you this. What part of your job would you say you love the most? Now, your job, knowing that your job's changed shapes, it looks totally different today than it looked 9 years ago when you started Hoopla. What do you love most about what you do?
I think the biggest thing, I love working with our team and, planning out a project, when we get a set of plans and we go under contract to get the work, I really love looking at the site, visualizing how it's going to look when it's finished, and just coming up with a plan that achieves our goals and our clients' goals, and then working with our team on executing that in the field, keeping it on track. And then, it means a lot to me when we meet those goals and we got a happy client and our team's happy, and that makes me feel good when we reach those goals.
It does, and the team, it makes everybody feel good. But you are a goal-driven guy. And you love having that thing out in front of you and creating a plan to not just take you there, but the whole team there. You want them to experience that win too.
Right.
And I love watching you do that now that you're in this role where you're developing project managers and you're helping them grow and you're trying to let them get to the next stage in their careers. I love watching you celebrate their wins.
Right.
And letting them experience some of that. That's really cool to see.
Yes, it is. I enjoy that side of it too, and seeing them be successful, and I hope that they look back one day and I hope that they can look back and see that I helped them with something, or they remember an impression I made on them, or how we handled something. They look back and handle it the same way. So
when you started with Hoopla in 2013, February 2013, is that right?
Yes.
How big was the company?
If I remember right, I think we had around 125 people.
125 people. Today, I think we're sitting right around 675.
Yes.
That's a totally different company.
It is.
So
completely different.
What's been the hardest part of the growth for you?
It really hasn't been too hard for me, to be honest. I mean, there's been a lot of long days and, a lot of hard work, keeping things going, and, making sure we had the resources and things we needed in place to get the work done, and making sure we had the right people in place. But overall, I mean, we've got a great team that's supported us through all the growth, and we've added a lot of great people that have came on board, and so really, I can't think of any one thing that's really been extremely challenging with the growth for me.
That's great. Well, let me ask it a different way, because that's good to hear that. I mean, the growth part and managing that growth has not been something that's been tough for you. What part of your job do you dislike the most?
Reading contracts.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Do you read a lot of contracts?
Yeah, I do. So it seems like we could simplify a lot of that and make it a lot easier. But it's part of the deal, and we do it. But it is something that's it's tough to sit there and read through some of that stuff.
And going through and fighting about two or three words.
That's right.
Or this clause and that clause, when all we need to do is get started.
That's right.
Yeah, that's exhausting. That's exhausting. We need to find you somebody to read through contracts. So.
We do.
Let me ask you: was college ever in the picture for you at all?
I thought about it some, and my dad encouraged me to do that, but at the time, I really didn't have an interest in it. I'd ran equipment and worked out in the field through school, and my senior year of high school, I got out of class early. I think I got out at 12 or 12:30, and I'd already started working in the afternoons, and I really didn't think it was right for me at the time to do it, and I had a lot of experience in the grading business already. I didn't know as much as I thought I knew, but right after high school, I mean, after I graduated, my dad made me a foreman. I mean, I knew enough about the work right after high school to get out there and run a job. So he made me a foreman. So I wasn't making great money, but I made decent money right out of high school, and I worked really hard, to learn more as I worked for him, and then as I went on, and made a career change. I did well with McGee Brothers. They were a great company there. So yeah, that's.
And Tim, I think it's great, and I think that I want to draw attention to that because, look, I'm not knocking college, right? I've got two kids. I know you got two. I mean, you're probably encouraging them to do it. It's a different day today than it was when you and I were starting off. College is important, and it's definitely going to help this next generation get a competitive edge over someone to get a job. But it's not required.
No.
And I want people in our industry to hear your story and to know that, look, you don't have to have college to be successful, okay? If you're passionate about something and you want to do that, then go after it. And, go after it, dream it, do it, and make it happen. And I think that's your story, Tim, is that this was something you knew you wanted to do. You worked your butt off, and you looked for opportunities to continue getting to where you want to go. And now here you are, vice president of a very large construction company. I would imagine that this stage in your career, you're experiencing some financial freedom, right, and some of the benefits of getting to that, and some of the benefits of your hard work. And so I think it's a great story, and I think this industry needs to hear more of that although college is great, it's not required.
Right. I agree 100%. If you're willing to get out there and work, and you really have a passion to learn, and this is a great industry to be in. I've ever since the day I got out of high school, I was able to make a good living and be a good provider. But one thing I do see with a company like us is, if I would have had the training that we're able to provide here, and just the knowledge base that we have with all our team members here, I could have accelerated my career path. We didn't have a lot of this at places I worked. You were out there learning on your own. A lot of times you didn't have a lot of guidance. So a lot of it was learned by trial and error. And then, you had to get some opportunities to where you had somebody, I mentioned my role with Paramount, had I not had that opportunity with them, I wouldn't be sitting in the seat today, because they gave me the opportunity to learn the project management and the business side of this versus the field side. So I worked really hard, and tried to always work well with people and get along with people. And I was very passionate about it, and obviously I had a head start in the field with my dad, learning that side of it. But if you go to work somewhere that's got the capability to train and teach, you could really advance quickly in this line of work. And like I said, it's provided very well for me and my family for years.
Well, and I know that's a huge part of your story too now, is that this academy, you've been just as passionate about that as anybody, and providing those training opportunities to that next generation, giving them the things that you didn't necessarily have, but the tools to be successful and to get to that next level. So last question, what would you say to that young man or woman that's listening to you today on the Give Us a Dirt podcast that shares your passion for this industry, that shares your passion for moving dirt, heavy equipment, but is unsure if this is the right industry for them to get into? What would you say to them?
I would say, that it's a great industry to be in, and if you're passionate about it and you think it's what you want to do, I would dive into it. I would try to find a good company that's a very stable company that maybe has the resources to provide training. I just can't say enough how that would have helped me and accelerated me getting to the point I wanted to be, had I had, the benefits of somebody training and, willing to spend time with me and teach me more about all the aspects of the business, whether it be the field side or the business side of it.
Awesome. Tim, I get asked all the time, people that see how much Hoopla has grown, and they say, how have you guys had that kind of growth but yet been able to maintain the culture that you had as a small company? And I always tell them it's because of the authenticity of the leadership. And that is you. You are authentic. You are true to yourself and to this company and who you are, and people respect that. And because that is the core and the foundation of the leadership here, it's easy to maintain the culture.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to be willing to get out there and communicate with your people. And something I'd like to do more, I don't get to do enough, is get out there in the field and see the guys and talk to them. I try to do that as much as I can, but I think it goes a long way just getting out there. They're, and they know what we're doing behind the scenes. I mean, those guys know it takes a lot to get the jobs, and then we gotta get them rolling, and so I know they know there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes to to give them a job and keep things moving. But I think it does mean a lot just to work with the guys as much as you can, and show them you're there for them and have their back.
Well, and hopefully after they hear this podcast that you've done, it gives them a little bit more insight into who you are, what makes you tick, and why you do what you do. It certainly has for me. So, Tim, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know this was probably uncomfortable, but you were awesome at it, and thank you for talking. And just you can go home and tell your wife that you did. You crushed it.
Well, thank you. I hope so. You've done a great job with these. I enjoy listening. I listen to several dirt podcasts, and by far this is the best one. So,
well, it's because we got the best guests. Tim, thank you so much. Thank you for being on today, and thank you for all that you do to make this company and this industry the best.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Give Us the Dirt. Our podcast is powered by Hoopla Grading Company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and produced by Well Run Media and Marketing. Visit our website at giveusthedirtpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Google so you never miss an episode.